Today we're making 3 irresistible appetizers for Christmas or the New Year that everyone will love. Kids, meat eaters, fussy eaters, there's something for everyone. Not only that, but we'll be cooking all 3 appetizers in just one air fryer, and that is going to be the Cosori Turbo Tower, who are actually sponsoring today's video. This air fryer has 3 levels of cooking. It's got a large basket, a medium basket, a grilling rack, and it's going to make cooking these appetizers an absolute breeze. And if you're in the market for an air fryer, there'll be a link in the description box, so let's get cooking. The first recipe we're making is these crispy smashed potatoes with a mushroom and chive cashew cream. First up, let's prepare these lovely salad or new potatoes. I've got some cold water here and I'm just going to add some sea salt to it to really season those potatoes from within. And you always want to start potatoes in cold water. Try to get them all in the pan, ideally. We cook them in cold water so that they cook evenly. We don't want the outside becoming mushy before the inside is fully cooked. And while those potatoes cook, we're just going to prepare the mushrooms. So the mushrooms, we're really simply just going to finely dice them. And you can really use any mushrooms that you like. You can use simple button mushrooms like I'm using, or you could use some lovely hearty portobello mushrooms. It's totally up to you. You could also add other ingredients to this cashew cream, such as olives or sun-dried tomatoes, depending on your preferences. Making it really simple. I'll season them with some salt and pepper once they're a little bit more cooked. Really nice high heat so we get some good color on these mushrooms. So the potatoes have come to a boil and I'm going to turn it back down to a simmer. I generally don't like to boil things when cooking as it can cause sort of uneven cooking. The edges cook a bit quicker than the inside. I prefer to go for a sort of just a light simmer. So the mushrooms have taken no time at all and I'm just going to zest in 1 garlic clove. And now I'll add in the salt and the pepper. I like to save adding the salt till now so that it doesn't draw out too much moisture at the beginning and sweat the mushrooms. I'm going to cook out this garlic literally for 30 seconds and then we'll take these mushrooms out and let them cool before adding them to the cashew cream. Now for the cashew cream, I've just had some cashews soaking in boiling water for about half an hour, just to give my blender a helping hand, make it a little bit easier. We're making a really nice thick cashew cream. To the cashews, we're going to add some lemon juice for a nice bit of freshness. Then some water, starting with not too much as I want a really nice thick cashew cream. We can always add more. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of brine from some olives for a really nice sort of tangy flavor. You can also use pickle brine. White miso for that lovely tang and umami saltiness. And then just a little Dijon mustard or English mustard, it's up to you. And we're of course going to add some nutritional yeast for that lovely cheesy and nutty flavor that we all love. All right, Poppy, it's time for your calendar. Sit. Good girl. Right, that's it till tomorrow. And then last ingredient is just a grate of black pepper. And we'll just blend that until smooth. So there we've got a lovely and thick cashew cream, more of a scooping consistency than a pouring consistency, which is exactly what we want. And I did give it a taste and it was absolutely delicious, doesn't need any more seasoning. And if you don't eat nuts, you could use sunflower seeds in the exact same way, or you could make a sort of tofu ricotta, or you could buy a shop-bought vegan cream cheese, that would be really nice. And I'll just put some in a separate bowl for my girlfriend who does not like mushrooms. And then to the mix, we're going to add some finely chopped chives. For a nice fresh oniony punch, and it goes really well with mushrooms. And then last to go in is the sauteed mushrooms. And mix that through and then you've got a delicious mushroom and chive cashew cream to top your crispy smashed potatoes.
Good girl. Come on then. Poppy.
And the potatoes are done when they feel like they're gonna explode when you press on them, or when you can just insert a fork really easily. And we'll just strain them off and let them steam dry for a little bit. I've just moved the potatoes to a bowl and I'm going to add a drizzle of olive oil, some dried thyme, also some oregano. We're gonna make these really nice and herby and delicious. A good pinch of sea salt. Potatoes can take a nice bit of salt. And then of course a crack of black pepper. Then just give those potatoes a toss to get them all nice and coated in the olive oil and the seasonings. I'm going to be using the top air fryer basket with the crisper basket removed. Then just spread out your potatoes evenly in the tray. And then you just want to use something with a flat bottom. I'm using this little mise en place bowl. And we'll just go in and crush the potatoes. Trying to keep them in one piece ideally. So those are ready for the air fryer. We're cooking everything at the same time, so we're going to move on to the next canapé. Next up is these cocktail tofu balls with a sweet chili cranberry sauce that I promise everyone will love. We'll start with the tofu balls and then we'll make that lovely sweet chili cranberry sauce to dip them in. I'm just going to crumble in some extra firm tofu into a large bowl. Make sure you get it really nice and crumbled. So I'm happy with that. We're going to start by adding our binding ingredients. We're going to go in with some oat flour or a flour of your choice, some ground walnuts, which add a lovely nutty and sort of coarse texture, and then some tapioca flour, which adds a sort of springiness and almost a little bit of chewiness to these tofu balls. And then for flavorings, I tried to keep this recipe fairly simple, so we're not doing any sort of pre-cooking of onions or mushrooms. So I'm just going to add a teaspoon of granulated garlic. Then some herbs, I'm going for dried sage and some thyme. Next, some nutritional yeast. I pretty much add this to every recipe, to be honest. It's healthy, it's nutty, it's delicious. For the umami factor, I'm adding some dark soy sauce. Of course, sticking to the British roots, we're going to add a teaspoon of Marmite. If you can't eat Marmite or you don't like it, then you can add some red miso. That works quite well. A good grating of fresh nutmeg for some lovely warming spice, since this is a Christmas appetizer. Or in England, we tend to call them canapés. That's going to go really well with the cranberry sauce. And lastly, a good grating of black pepper. And that's everything. We're just going to give it a really good mix now. I'm going to use my hands. You're welcome to use a spoon, but I just find it's easier to use your hands. I gave it a taste and it's got a nice sort of stuffing flavor, but I feel it needs slightly more moisture. So I'm just adding in some tomato puree. And then you should end up with a nice ball of firm tofu, slightly soft and springy, ready to be rolled out. I'm just going to roll them out straight into the bowl that we just mixed the dough in. And we're shaping them into quite small balls so that you could put onto a little cocktail stick, and it's just sort of a one mouthful sort of deal. This can be quite a fun little task for the kids to do, rolling out the tofu balls. So those are just about ready to go. We're going to add a good glug of olive oil to make sure they don't dry out and get lovely and crispy in the air fryer. And then just gently toss the coat. And then those are ready for the air fryer. And these will go into the air fryer with the crisper basket in, because we want them lovely and golden and brown. And then just spread them out evenly. The crisper basket will help the hot air get underneath them so they get lovely and crispy. And we'll set them aside while we make the sweet chili cranberry sauce. This sauce is super simple. I'm just going to mix it in the bowl. I'm going to serve it. And we start with some sweet chili sauce. Then I've got some smooth cranberry sauce. You could also cook down some fresh or frozen cranberries. A touch of red wine vinegar for a nice bit of tang. And then just give that a mix, and that is literally it. Super simple.
Are you hungry? Want your lunch?
And finally, who doesn't love pesto? So we're making these double pesto pastry swirls with red and green pesto. For the pesto puff pastry swirls, we of course need the pesto. So I'm going to start by making the green one with some basil and some parsley. I'm going to make the green one nut-free just for a change, and I'm going to add some pumpkin seeds instead. And I'm using the food processor instead of the pestle and mortar because, you know, it's Christmas Eve and we don't have time for that. But not really, it's a week before Christmas. Anyway, then we're going in with some nutritional yeast as a sort of parmesan replacement. 1 small clove of garlic, or more if you love your garlic, it's up to you. A little bit of lemon juice, good grating of black pepper. You could of course just buy a green and red pesto. That would of course save you a lot of time. Going to add a pinch of salt, and then about 3 to 4 tablespoons of olive oil. And then we're going to whiz that up. So that is pesto number 1, the green pesto. I ended up adding quite a few pumpkin seeds because I want a quite thick pesto so it doesn't come out of the puff pastry too much. And the pumpkin seeds add a really nice flavour and crunch to the pesto. For the red pesto, I'm not going to worry about washing out the food processor, that's all good. So we're going in with some sun-dried tomatoes, then I'm going to use cashews in this pesto. We're doing a very similar recipe, just with sun-dried tomatoes, so we'll go in with the garlic, the lemon juice. We've finished the nutritional yeast, so we're bringing out the big guns. In that goes, lovely cheesy nutty flavour, so good. And then again, we'll go for about 3 to 4 tablespoons of olive oil. I've got some of the oil from these sun-dried tomatoes, which I'm going to add. That'll have a lovely flavour to it. Probably not the best quality oil in there, but that's fine. It's Christmas. Crack of black pepper, small pinch of salt, and then we'll give that a blend. And there is your second pesto, the sun-dried tomato one. Really delicious. Made a decent amount here, so I might not even need it all, which is great because then I can have it on some pasta. I did end up adding an extra teaspoon of tomato puree just to help give it a bit more of a red color. We've got a nice thick pesto so we can spread it easily on the puff pastry. Now for the fun part, get yourself a sheet of shop-bought puff pastry. Just make sure it's vegan puff pastry and not sort of an all butter one. And then we're going to add on our pesto. I'm going to do 2 lines of each. Don't go too crazy with it or else you won't be able to roll it up. You just want a thin spreading. I'm using one of these little spatulas, which makes it really easy to spread the pesto. And then you just want to leave a line of pastry here without any pesto on. And I've got a glaze here, which is just oat milk with a touch of maple syrup. And we'll brush that on there. And then you're just going to simply roll it up. So just try and keep it nice and sort of neatly packed. And there you go. You can just sort of lightly press on the pastry to sort of crimp it shut, or you can use a little fork, that works quite well. And then we'll just cut this into rounds about 2 centimeters thick. Make sure you've got a nice sharp knife. And just do a sort of gentle rocking action to cut through the roll. And you can see we've got the red and the green pesto in there. They're going to be super tasty. Very excited to try them. And to cook these, I'm going to make use of the grilling rack, so we can cook 3 appetizers at the same time. So just pop them on here, and make sure to leave some space in between each one, as they will expand. And these will go on top of the tofu balls. And then finishing touch, we'll just give them a light glaze on top, help them get really nice and golden. I've got the tofu balls here in the large tray, and then the double pesto pastry swirls will go on top. Okay, so we're setting up all 3 appetizers at once. We've got these smashed potatoes in here, they're gonna get lovely and crispy. And then we've got the tofu balls and the pesto swirls in the bottom. For the crispy potatoes, we're choosing air fry. I'm gonna go for 200 degrees, and we're gonna go for, I think, 20 minutes. We'll then move to the bottom basket, and we're going to choose the bake function. And we'll set that to 180 degrees for 12 minutes, and we'll flip them halfway through the pastry swirls. You can then press the sync function, which is going to ensure everything is cooked and ready at the same time, and then you can press start. The crispy potatoes have started first as they're going to take the longest, and then the bottom part is on hold. By using the bake function on the air fryer, the DC motor will deliver smart airflow, resulting in a slower fan speed and gentler baking. This will make the puff pastry swirls lovely and crispy and glazed on top. Okay, moment of truth. Let's check the first basket first. There we go, we've got lovely crispy potatoes. And then into the bottom tray, and we've got beautiful golden double pesto swirls. They look totally delicious. Very excited to try one of them. And then using a tea towel, I'm going to remove the grilling rack. And we've got lovely golden tofu balls ready to go with that sweet cranberry chili sauce. So good. Wow. Beautifully flaky and crunchy pastry, and then you get the mix of the pestos. Really delicious. What's not to like? I don't have any skewers, so we're just gonna do it with our hand. Absolutely fine. These tofu balls have a lovely golden outside, they're chewy in the center, and I think whenever I add sage to something, it just instantly makes me think of stuffing. So these are kind of like little chewy stuffing balls, really tasty. And then pair it with that sort of sweet, slightly spicy cranberry and sweet chili sauce. It's a match made in heaven. Oh, that's good. That is super tasty. So much flavor. The potatoes are beautifully cooked. They're crispy on the outside, fluffy in the center, and really nice and herby. You've then got tangy, garlicky mushroom cashew cream, which just works perfectly with those crispy potatoes. Definitely give this a go, and you can switch up what's in the cashew cream if you don't like mushrooms, add in some sun-dried tomatoes, or just leave it plain. It's still gonna be really tasty. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in getting yourself a Turbo Tower air fryer, check out the link in the description box or the comment section, and I'll see you in a video very soon. Merry Christmas.